Today we're taking a first look at this all new, insanely capable, and surprisingly cheap hybrid inverter. This is the EG4 FlexBOSS21. We've mentioned before how EG4 is actually paying attention to their customers. They're spending time out in the field with them and the installers, and they're always trying their best to improve their products and solve real market problems. And I think this inverter is probably the best example that we have of that yet. So welcome back to the lab where our opinions cannot be bought. This right here is the newest addition to the EG4 product lineup. A lot of people might be confused because you've been hearing about the new FlexBOSS and the GridBOSS. The FlexBOSS can stand on its own 2 feet. This is a hybrid inverter that can function all on its own. The GridBOSS is another component that if you're trying to run a hybrid system, you can pair with the FlexBOSS, but it doesn't have any functionality on its own. It has to be paired with another inverter. Today, we're focusing strictly on the FlexBOSS, but we will have a video coming out pretty soon showing you all about the GridBOSS and how it kind of incorporates with the FlexBOSS or another EG4 product. This inverter is a hybrid inverter, but when it's just by itself running an off-grid application, you don't need the GridBOSS at all. As always, our goal is to provide you guys with honest information and also save you some money where we can. We actually do have a discount code that you can use on Signature Solar towards any EG4 products. But to kick off our first look at the FlexBOSS21, we're gonna hit you guys with a super quick spec teardown in case you're not already familiar with this giant inverter. First up, this thing passes the Tiny Baby lift test. It only weighs 88 pounds. Unfortunately, Tiny Baby's on the injury reserve right now. He hurt himself lifting big weights. Here's a random shot showing you guys that I can lift it. You might need help. It's awkward, it's big, but it only weighs 88 pounds. So if you can lift a small child.
88 pounds is like a reasonably chubby, like 3rd grader.
This is a hybrid 48 volt split phase, so it does 240 volts inverter. It's got a 12 kilowatt continuous output when it's connected to batteries. When you have solar running into this guy, it can actually do 16 kilowatts of continuous output. And it has a weird middle ground where it can run 14.7 kilowatts for 10 minutes. Which is actually kind of cool. So you can just surge it just a little bit just to get the job done. It's rated to surge up to 24 kilowatts for half a second and 18 kilowatts for a whole second, which is enough to start a 5-ton air conditioner with no sure start or extra accessories with this guy. You can parallel up to 16 of these guys to get a total of 256 kilowatts of output. And this inverter has the ability to take in 21 kilowatts of solar input. They actually recommend you have an array of 25 kilowatts of plated. So like if your solar panel says 100 watts, it's not actually gonna give off 100. So they recommend an array of 25 kilowatts so that you can put 21 into this thing, which makes this the biggest hybrid inverter right now on the market. When it comes to efficiency, it's rated for 97% from PV to the grid. It's rated for 94.5% from PV to battery. When it comes to the design of this unit, it actually has no screen. It's just got these little warning lights right here. You can get a screen, it's like an extra $100. And I think right now, I don't know when it's till, they have like a holiday promotion going on. If you buy this right now, you actually get the screen for free. But when you look at the rest of the build, it's clearly built on the 18K PV platform. It's a little bit shorter. We'll get into why that is in a bit, but it's basically identical on the back end to the 18K. You got your fans underneath, you got your handles on the side. It utilizes the exact same mounting bracket and everything. You got your PV disconnect, your rapid shut off button, and then you've got your door locks here on the side. When you open it up, it's actually super clean. If you remove the little plastic shield, you can see you have 2 positive and 2 negative battery terminals. You have your battery shut off breaker. You have 2 lines for your load input and 2 lines for your grid input. You have a metric ton of PV input ports. And then you also have some dry connects and a couple communication ports going on. And this unit, just like the 18K, has knockouts on the top and on the back end for wires. So you can actually wire this thing up super cleanly no matter what application you're using it in. This unit supports off-grid, grid-tied, and grid sellback modes. It works with lithium or lead acid batteries. And it actually has a NEMA 4X weather rating. So this thing is rated to be outdoors. And the price of this guy right now with our discount code is $4,149, which makes it $750 cheaper than the 18K PV, and it's a bigger battery unit. The first thing that we really like and is obviously extremely noticeable about this inverter is it is cheaper and yet more powerful than the 18K. So it's cheaper very obviously for a couple of reasons. There's no screen, the screen's only $100, but again, there's no screen immediately on the unit. The door locks on the side here are BYOL, which means bring your own lock. On the 18K, they actually have a key that comes with it. These are like dollar store little lock hinges. You still have the ability to lock it. But the biggest difference with this is that it only has a 90 amp service pass-through, where something like the 18K has a built-in 200 amp pass-through. That's where the GridBOSS comes in. The GridBOSS actually incorporates that 200 amp pass-through if you're using it in a hybrid setup. But if you're just using this off-grid, EG4 noticed that a lot of people were paying big money for 18Ks and they never use the 200 amp pass-through because they don't have grid power going to the unit at all. So the way this one's designed is to be cheaper and better for just a regular off-grid use, with the GridBOSS as its buddy if you want to use it on grid. And so your first thought is probably like, how do you control it? It's designed to be controlled with the app. We prefer the screen. I just like being able to go up and touch things. A lot of people don't like relying on technology for stuff. I get it. I'd prefer the screen, but with that $700 cheaper, because you lose a couple features, which is also why this ends up being just like 4 or 5 inches shorter, you also gain some stuff because this is basically just an innovation. It's like a next step in the 18K lineup, basically. It's majorly the same stuff going on the inside, but they added the ability to up your output from 12 kilowatts to 16 when solar is present, because they felt like that was something that a lot of people wish they had a little bit more output. So now you can do that with this. And obviously the 21 kilowatts of solar input is insane. That's higher than anything we've seen. That literally, like, there should be no normal residential household that has solar panels that can't get them into this unit. And so for the off-gridders, we like that they have a bigger, better option now, and it's $700, $750 if you use our code, cheaper than the existing option. For the hybriders, they basically noticed that everybody, when they were installing the 18K, you needed to spend at least $2,000, $2,500 on mandatory switches to make it pass code, like a 200 amp manual transfer switch, 200 amp shutoff. And they were basically like, if they're spending this much money on all these parts and wires and stuff, why don't we just build the GridBOSS, and the GridBOSS can take care of that solution. So we'll get into that another day, but we still like that when you pair this with the GridBOSS as a hybrid setup, you actually have a much cleaner, simpler, easier to use and understand system. And you still end up saving money over the traditional route. Something else that we really like is that this has 190 rotor lock amps straight out of the box, which just means a lot of people were buying soft starters or sure starters for their air conditioner. This unit is actually rated to start a 5-ton air conditioner just as it is right here. You don't need to spend any extra money on a soft start to get the job done, which is another like $300 or more that you just saved. So with this guy, you want to start a massive air conditioner?
No problem.
I also really like that getting that 16 kilowatts of total output with solar and battery present. You don't actually have to use 12 kilowatts from the batteries and then the rest from solar. You could do, the majority of it could be coming from your solar. Let me put it this way. If you have 21 kilowatts coming into this unit, you can choose to do 9 kilowatts on solar and the rest from battery. You could do 10 kilowatts on solar and the rest from battery, or you could do 12 kilowatts battery and the rest from solar. It depends what you're trying to prioritize. If you're trying to get battery power in, or if you're just trying to bypass that because your batteries are already full and you just want to use your raw power that you're generating right now, which is another really cool feature. Something else that I really like, when you get inside of here, you notice all the terminals and everything are a lot smaller. Due to not having that 200 amp pass-through service, you only have the 90 amp. Everything just seems more manageable. To the average person, when they get this and they open it up, it's probably gonna be a lot less daunting than like the 18K, where all the lugs and terminals are huge. They're meant for big, thick wires. This is meant for a lot smaller. If you look at like the load and the grid ports here, it's just meant for smaller wiring. And it also doesn't have a generator port in here because it's not meant to be backed up in that way. If you have a generator, just plug it right into the grid port. You should probably get the charge inverter so you don't blow up your batteries. And note to everyone that buys this, I don't know if it's the seal on this thing or what, but when you open it, it smells like you're gonna get cancer just from being near it, dude. It stinks so bad. It also carries all the same UL listings as the 18K. It's got the RSD for the rapid shutoff. If you ever try this at home, just know that rapid shutoff's requirement is to be less than 30 seconds. So it sounds like it's gonna be fast. It's like, oh, rapid shutdown, and you press it, and you just gotta wait, and then eventually it breaks. And the first time I did it, I'm like, that's not working the way it's supposed to, but it is. So that is it. Let us know if there's any testing or anything that you wanna see us put this unit through. It's gonna take us a little while to get prepped here at the lab to get such a beefy inverter, some decent testing. So we wanted to share this video with you guys right now. Otherwise, if you guys are interested in this, we have links down below. You can call Signature Solar. All of their installers have access to this and stuff like the GridBOSS. I think the GridBOSS is actually gonna be huge for installers. It's gonna be more important for installers than anybody else, actually. But if you decide to go ahead and buy this, they'll be able to help you, hook you up with an installer, give you a free screen if you buy it at some point. I don't know. Right now they got a special going on. Make sure you guys are subscribed so you don't miss the video coming out on the GridBOSS and any of our other product reviews. And that is all we got for you guys. I will catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out and stay charged.